So, you know what's on my mind? When will AI be acceptable in Hollywood? Now, in 2023, we started to see rumblings of AI in the space, especially in Hollywood, when ChatGPT came out, and the challenge was like, how is it going to affect writing, and how do we protect writers? And especially that came right along with the strike, right? And that became this kind of conversation where the strike lasted for a very long time, and the conversation around AI became more and more prominent, despite the fact that, I've mentioned this before, the strike was in a lot of ways precipitated by the decline in DVD sales, the decline in theater sales, the pandemic, and of course, streaming as this big specter that has kind of reorganized how Hollywood makes money, how Hollywood produces content and distributes that content, right? But nevertheless, in 2024, we saw this like explosion, right? In February 2024, we saw Sora be sampled. And before that, we saw Midjourney and Runway and a few other players in the space, Dolly, kind of showing what was possible with image. And then 2024 has just been this run, right? Where Runway, Luma, Kling, the Chinese competitors, I featured all of them. And of course, recently Google's out, Sora is finally out. And so, like, we are seeing all the major players are here. They've staked their claim. End of 2024. This is the progress that's been made. 2025 is just going to be a crazy run, most likely. It's going to get better, more innovation. We're already seeing in the open source world what kind of research people are doing in the space, how they're innovating in terms of like looking at the gaze of a character, lip syncing, translation. All of this stuff is happening very, very rapidly. And so from a technological point of view, it's evident that 2025 is just going to be a complete ratchet up, right? More players are probably going to come into the space that are probably in stealth now, like Meta Movie Gen, for example, and maybe other startups that haven't come out yet. We're also going to see the major players that I just mentioned update their models to be more competitive with each other. This is almost like the commodity in the space. And then in the next maybe 2020, end of 2025, maybe mid 2026 even, we might see some consolidation, right? Like, you can't just be burning money to create a new model if you don't have clear revenue paths, right? And so that's all unclear to me. Who's going to win, who's going to last, et cetera, et cetera. So let's dig into kind of some news items that help us to think about where this might be going next. Who knows? This is all speculation. It's all in my mind. But there's a lot of interesting things that are happening. So let's dig in. So before we kind of jump into what are the big news items, I do want to kind of look at, what is a case that we're still not clear on how that's going to be. Since February, right, we had this generative AI fair use battle between NYT and OpenAI. And these battles, there's like, I think like 20, 30 of these lawsuits that are happening right now, which are still in operation. It's not clear where these are going to land and where the courts are going to go with it. Is it going to go to the Supreme Court, or is Congress, with the new Trump administration coming in January, are they going to come in and put forward legislation? Congress and Trump, are they going to put forward legislation that paves the way for legal matters, or the legal administration around how we see these issues, right? From fair use, copyright, stealing of of content, etc., for the training of models, all that kind of stuff, right? And like, who gets credit for a generated model? There's things where you need to prove enough, like how much humanity is a part of this, etc. So like, all of these things are being worked out in the courts. Fair use is definitely like one of those things where it's still being discussed. Even there's this Stanford paper which kind of goes into it. So like, here, even the researcher says the law is very blurry, or a little blurry, and quickly evolving, right? Henderson here thinks these efforts could begin exciting research to improve model quality, advance our knowledge of foundation models, and bring them into alignment with fair use standards. So is that happening? We shall see. But, again, people are thinking that it's going to go to the Supreme Court. So who knows? Meanwhile, I think the conversation of AI, I mean, I'm late to the party making this video even. Like, there are a lot of articles right now that have already come out here. New York Times just this last Sunday came out with this, what if AI is actually good for Hollywood? I featured that in a previous YouTube video. Then, the Bulwark is also talking about AI here, right? Since here is December, the copyright material being used to train AI, digging into it. The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, all of these major publications in in Hollywood are deeply involved or deeply researching what is happening on the ground. And really, the summation to me is just that, look, people are using AI from across the board, right? Writers are experimenting, producers are experimenting, directors are experimenting, agencies, big studios, small studios, they're all either openly or secretly, using AI. I mean, with the best example of this being Runway, right? Runway in September partnered with Lionsgate, and that's a huge partnership. Of course, Lionsgate is one of the smaller studios, but it's still, this is a company that has John Wick and many other titles that is now partnered with Runway to use AI in film production. Now, what does this mean? What is the nature of that partnership? It's not totally clear here. What do they say? We're committed to giving artists, creators, and studios the best and most powerful tools to augment their workflows and enable new ways of bringing their stories to life. The history of art is the history of technology, and these new models are part of our continuous efforts to build transformative mediums for artistic and creative expression. The best stories are yet to be told. So that's the Runway co-founder. Lionsgate has an incredible creative team and a clear vision for how AI can help their work. We're excited to help them bring their ideas to life. So is this going to be in terms of previs or development or production or post-production? Unclear. So they're saying we are considering ways to license or otherwise offer these models as templates that can be made available to individual creators interested in building and training their own proprietary models for companies, blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty interesting. If anything, that's kind of the most quotable thing here, is that they are keen to license their models using, partnerships with Lionsgate. So here they say they are training of a new AI model customized on Lionsgate's proprietary catalog. So here is the general partnership that they're thinking about with using data and using that and allowing creators to have access to these models. They're using Lionsgate to do so. Fundamentally designed to help Lionsgate Studios, its filmmakers, directors, and other creative talent to augment their work, the model generates cinematic video that can be further iterated using Runway's suite of controllable tools. So that probably means that maybe Runway they're training people within Lionsgate. They are developing, or listening to them on what features they're going to build, et cetera, et cetera. That's a big deal. That was in September. Okay. No, I would have to say no big studios since have necessarily had such a large partnership, except for we do have Terminator creator James Cameron joins the board of Stability.ai. So Stability is a massive company in terms of the history of generative AI, right? I mean, Stability is Stable Diffusion, which was, foundational for Midjourney. Midjourney early builds were built on top of Stable Diffusion. So this is a big open source company that does stable imaging as well as stable video. They also do other things like that. So here, James Cameron, his role will center around how the technology can be used in special effects, also known as CGI, computer graphics. So like this guy, James Cameron, is an institution. He is a legend, right? Titanic all the way to Avatar. So like, and of course, Terminator. And of course, I'm escaping me. What am I thinking of? Titanic, Terminator, Avatar. Everybody knows James Cameron, right? Alien. So like, James Cameron's involved. Okay, that's also in September. So you got Runway mid-September, James Cameron late September. Then you also got Blumhouse October, the next month. Blumhouse is partnering with Meta Movie Gen. So Blumhouse, a huge production company, they are now working with Meta. So while we're not planning to incorporate movie gen models into any public products until next year, Meta feels it's important to have an open and early dialogue with the creative community about how it can be the most useful tool for creativity and ensure its responsible use. Now, this, in my opinion, is a huge deal because Blumhouse is a major horror production company, and Meta is easily one of the biggest companies in big tech, right? And they haven't even released their Meta Movie Gen. So that's really interesting that they're partnering together. You have Runway partnering with a relatively mid-sized studio, and you got Blumhouse, which I would say was kind of a more indie to medium-sized studio, partnering with the big tech, one of the biggest companies in the world. Here, the CEO of Blumhouse, Jason Blum, says artists are and forever will be the lifeblood of our industry. Innovation and tools that can help those artists better tell their stories is something we are always keen to explore, and we welcome the chance for some of them to test this cutting-edge technology and give their notes on its pros and cons while it's still in development. These are going to be powerful tools for directors, and it's important to engage the creative industry in their development to make sure they're best suited for the job. I mean, this is speaks directly to another video that I did recently that was basically, I think that the labor movement, people who are artists and creatives, writers, workers, people who are working in port authorities, all manufacturers, the actual workers, the actual creatives, I believe should be, not only should they be pro AI, but they should be leading these conversations. I think people who are anti AI, who are in these positions, are shooting themselves in the foot, because they're essentially, by being anti AI, they are preventing themselves from being in the conversation, from leading the conversation. It's precisely those people, in my opinion, who should be in the leadership position to say, hey, yes, okay, we get that AI is happening. Let's figure out where it should be happening, rather than saying no AI, period. Right. And I think I see a lot of people out there who are very anti-AI in this way. And I think it's self-defeating. So that's Meta Movie Gen, Blumhouse, A24. They are using AI generated ads as well. Kind of subtle. It seems like they just kind of tested the waters here. That was in April. That was quite a while ago. So Blumhouse being kind of the more recent and bigger announcement. So, and then of course, maybe less kind of maybe orthogonal to this is Here, right? Which, one of my favorite news stories, because I know some folks involved with metaphysics. This is a massive collaboration, right? I believe it was Robert Zemeckis who did, so many films with Tom Hanks, from I think it was like Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, and a bunch of other films. Like, Zemeckis is a legend, and Tom Hanks obviously an institution, a legend as well. Robin Wright as well, right? House of Cards. She was also Jenny in Forrest Gump, right? So this is a huge reunite, and they are using AI. Now it is Gen AI, right? And it's interesting here because this is not the same type of AI that we're talking about with Meta Movie Gen and Runway and Stability, right? These types are in particular are, you can prompt an image or a video, right? In Runway and Meta Movie Gen, in Stability as well. In this case, Here is doing a kind of like a change of the face, right? To de-age the face, which, was done previously without AI, using CGI with like Benjamin Button, right? But Metaphysic in particular, if you don't know, they were the ones that were behind that Elvis Presley AI. Let me see here. Let's see here. I think is this it here? Oh no, this is not it. It's in the American Idol Elvis, I believe, right? Elvis Presley, that's right. Yeah, it was this one. So this was Elvis Presley, and Simon Cowell and all that. So they were using metaphysic technology here, essentially. So the actors down here don't have an Elvis face, and of course they're re-rendering it up here. So that was kind of the impressive thing about that, right? And they had Simon Cowell singing as well. So they essentially used people's faces to become the dancers, become all that, which is really, really cool. And of course, that technology was like 3 or 4 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, during the pandemic, I believe. And now they're in a major motion picture. So, and this a $50 million film, which I think is coming out soon, or is about to come out, or is already coming out. So like, really interesting, right? So these are to me, are the cascading tipping points, right? You've got James Cameron, you've got Run with Lionsgate, you got Blumhouse with Meta Movie Gen, you've got A24 experimenting with AI posters. There's the Here film. There's probably a lot of other moments that I could probably map out against the graph here. And so like, the question being like, what is the true tipping point? What's the straw, right, that breaks Hollywood's back, right? Like, what is the moment, or the series of moments that we lead up to where, hey, people are openly, boastfully even using AI in their process? I mean, I think at some level, it's already at the executive level. They're saying, hey, yes, we are using AI. And the question is, what changes the ideology, right? What shifts the conversation in a way that is healthy, in a way that is embracing AI? And I think I would be willing to bet that by summer of next year, we are going to hit a moment, or a series of moments, where this conversation is just very, very different. I mean, I think we're into the holidays. We got Google VO2 out, Sora's out, and the tools are getting all better. And I think in the next few months, we're going to see all the major players update to get to probably a Google VO2 level or near that. And then we're going to start to see more and more AI commercials, if not already, right? Coca-Cola AI commercial is just the beginning, right? And the Toys R Us commercial and all these are just the beginning of experimentation. By the time we get into, let's say, the Q1 of 2025, we are going to see a massive, massive shift. I think right now we're seeing, hey, these are experiments. People are playing with it. It's still cheap. It still looks like a toy, right? I mean, like, if you think about it, when the iPhone first came out, a lot of people were very skeptical, right? It was like, oh, this is just for games, right? If you remember, I'm aging myself, but I remember when the iPhone came out and a lot of people thought that this touchscreen thing was stupid. Of course, people still want Nokias and a keyboard because why would you type on this like touchscreen? And then things slowly shifted. There was an app store and then things got better. And then Uber and then, and Spotify and all these like mobile first companies started coming along. And then at a certain point, I was like, why wouldn't you have a smartphone? That happened over the course of 5 years, I would say, like roughly 5 years, until it was like billions of people had a smartphone. So with AI, I don't think we're going to see that kind of a trajectory. But in the creative industries, I think by Q2 next year, end of Q1, we're going to see a revolution in the cost of these things, probably actually staying the same, actually, to be fair, but the usage of these things going way up. Agencies are experimenting, studios are experimenting, the quality is going up, and then you're going to see more and more people having to use it because they just can't resist it, even though the copyright issues are still there, right? And so the copyright issues are going to be there for a while because maybe we're not going to have feature films with AI necessarily, unlike besides this one, right? Because at least this is covered in the sense that it's just de-aging his face. It's not generating like a new character or regenerating a character that has not signed their likeness away or what have you. So when is that going to happen, right? That's my big question. And I think it is going to happen by summer 2025. That's my rough estimate. I could probably be completely wrong. This is Min's mind just trying at it, but I think by next year, a lot can happen, right? Like I said, we're going to have huge updates in the next 2 to 3 months, which is going to change the conversation precipitously. Then we're going to have huge new experiments of short films, commercials, and even maybe longer films, maybe not feature films distributed by the big studios, but definitely feature films that come out on YouTube or wherever in the next 2 to 3 months, right? More people are going to embrace it globally. And then we'll revisit. We'll come back. We'll do another YouTube video, and we'll kind of investigate where we are. So this is all to say, come back in March. We'll do another video, if not sooner, that kind of investigates where we're going to be from here. So come back to this video and see if I made the prediction right or not. But I do think summer 2025 is going to be a big, big summer. So, all right, guys. Talk to you soon. Let me know what you think in the comments. Very curious. And thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.